Ugh. A mainstream movie to review, they tell me. So many options, so little time. I mean, what really meets my criteria when it comes to movies based around the internet, or YouTube, or social media in general? There are a few in particular, but you know what? I'm gonna have to grab one at random, conveniently, in 3, 2, 1. Oh, hey, gamer. Yeah, I'm gonna need a little help with this one. Hey, Ryan, buddy old pal, how's it hanging?
Nope.
Figures.
Locking doors.
Hey, did you lock me inside of my own house?
You know, you should really be careful who you invite over to your place, because you never know when someone might jimmy rig all of your doors to automatically lock them all up with a handy little remote control.
Man, you've really gotten paranoid since last year.
I like to think of myself as being extra cautious.
So I take it it's time again for our annual review?
You know it. And do you know why I keep coming back to you, of all people, every single year for a collaboration?
To personally torment me?
Possibly, but also because I wanted to know what you think about video games being integrated into movies. For a guy who reminisces of fond memories on awesome video games on his channel, I'm surprised you never critiqued the video games that Hollywood has tried to cash in over the years. Why is that?
Well, because video games and movies are a completely different medium, and I don't really consider myself a movie critic because I like playing games a lot more, and I can critique games a lot better than I can critique movies, so that's that.
Well, today that is going to change because you and I are going to review a mainstream movie revolving around Battle Royale style video games. Sort of.
That doesn't sound promising.
Probably not, and that movie would be Gamer. Released in 2009, this box office bomb of an edgy movie stars Gerard Butler as John Cable Tillman as a convicted murderer who is a participant in an online game where other gamers can control human beings as players. Written and directed by the creators of Crank, Neville Dean and Taylor, their idea was to produce a high-concept, futuristic thriller.
You think that they would have put a little bit more effort by giving a better title for the movie?
Actually, this was their third movie title change. The first two were Game and Citizen Game.
Oh lord.
You're probably going to need him after this review. This is Gamer. The movie begins with some extreme copyrighted music where the first minute and a half highlights different parts of the world, where apparently there's only two forms of advertisements promoting Cable and Ken Castle. Until Cable moves on to the scene, mowing down noobs left and right like a hardcore Twitch streamer for bits. And after going through another onslaught of explosions and getting through really poor post-production glitch effects, Cable and his gamer buddy win another match, making this their 27th consecutive win.
If they win 3 more rounds, then that would mean Cable will be set free. Then we cut to a TV studio where a talk show is interviewing the creator of popular video games Society and Slayer, Ken Castle, played by Michael C. Hall. Oh boy, the guy who played Dexter, one of the best serial killers of all time! And he's playing the antagonist?
You know it!
Well, this movie can't be bad if he's in here.
We live in society. We visit society. I mean, which one's more real, really? I mean, which one's really real?
Is he doing a southern accent?
Rickety dickety doo.
Yep.
This is absolutely ludicrous.
You think that's ludicrous? How about an actual ludicrous in this movie?
Say what?
Ken Castle wants you to believe that you
Don't let him eat me!
This is Brother, leader and spokesman for the Humans, an organization of computer hacking rebels who let people know that Castle is the big baddie in this flick. We then cut back to the inmates where they are playing basketball in the dirt for some reason, and Cable sits in the corner thinking about his wife and daughter.
A wild John Leguizamo appears to mildly annoy Cable, who he humbly ignores for a while, although we get some brief exposition with Cable as he's in jail for murder, and apparently someone is helping him on the inside as a mysterious woman gives Cable a photo of his family and takes his blood.
Meanwhile, brief exposition number 2 shows up, with Cable's wife, Angie, participating in the game Society, an online world much like The Sims, but where people do a wide variety of hardcore freakish things, but mostly a lot of sexual stuff, which I'm going to have a hell of a time in post-production blocking out a lot of the nudity in here. And Angie's avatar is being controlled by your over-the-top fat gamer who uses maple syrup to wash himself with, like, lather as he plays.
The next round begins for Cable as he goes through the gauntlet once more, picking off more dudes and trying to save people for extra points, which doesn't go too well. But he does get some assistance from another teammate, but not for very long.
You bastard!
But Cable does win once again, and stock footages of random audiences from around the world cheer for him.
And you may be asking yourselves, who is this gamer that's actually controlling Cable? Clearly this guy must be an absolute badass if he has over 28 consecutive wins at this point.
Yeah, you're right, and we're only 30 minutes into this movie.
Well, enter Simon. A 17-year-old who eats guacamole sandwiches, plays in the safety of his CG bubble, and only accepts video chats from girls.
Wow, he sounds like a true legend.
He looks more like a prick to me. But he does get a message from the Humans organization and asks if he would like to talk to Cable. Back at Ken Castle's lair, he creates a new soldier, which is the angriest looking Terry Crews that I have ever seen, to seek out and kill Cable, personally in the next round. What makes Terry Crews different from the rest of the players? Well, it would appear that he is not connected to any player, thus giving him an extra few seconds of an edge without the delay system.
The evil Terry Crews, called Hackman in this movie, intimidates Cable by singing and letting him know that he plans on killing him and mentioning his wife and daughter as well.
They've got strings, but you can see there are no strings on me.
If you ask me, Ultron did a much better job singing that song.
And it would appear that Simon agreed to the Humans modification and talks to Cable directly in the next match. Also, John Leguizamo shows up again to wander around the field. Oh no! That guy.
Simon and Cable exchange some banter until they enter the restricted area, where Hackman shows up to finish him off. However, he is quickly detained by the guards and Cable asks Simon to free him from his restraints in the next round. As Angie goes to a social worker to get custody of her child, Simon gets an unexpected visit from Brother, who asks him to cut Cable loose from his strings.
Back on the inside, Cable's informant lets him know that Simon is going to set him loose in the final match. But not before they provide Cable with some good old hard liquor to put into his system, which results in Cable stumbling around the field, leaving Simon disappointed in him. Cable stumbles upon the parking garage where he finds a decent looking truck to fill up the gas tank by puking up the vodka and pissing into it at the same time. For the record, this is not how vehicles work when you fill it up.
Tell that to the hillbillies in Alabama.
But no matter, as he drives off, knocking down Hackman and driving through the battlefield, escaping into the restricted area. They blow up his truck and declare Cable dead. But obviously that isn't the case, as he meets up with the mysterious woman from prison and gets to meet Brother.
He informs Cable the whole layout that Castle's games are becoming more popular every week because more people who can't make a decent livable wage flock to become willing participants in his video game. As time goes on, Castle will eventually have mind-controlled enough people to where everyone will become his slaves.
Meanwhile, Mr. Tons of Perverted Fun plays with Angie again in Society as she hooks up with the dad from This Is Us, and as they are about to, Cable pops in to deliver an epic backbreaker to save his mind-controlled wife.
So you're about to screw in this weird stranger who you've never seen before jumps in after killing some guy. What do you do?
I'll do anything.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. No, maybe stop.
Grab life by the dick and fuck it, guys.
Cable escorts his NPC waifu out of society, but Hackman shows up again for round 3. He takes Angie to the elevator, and after killing 2 random people, because murder also turns Chubsy Wubsy on, the two spar off until Cable blows off his foot, and then they both escape into the apartment, only to go to a rave where they have another brief shootout and escape out the back door with Gina, the TV host from earlier, assisting Cable and AG out of society.
As Simon is being detained in a dimly lit FBI interrogation room by a cameo from Keith David, the hipsters from Humans use their rubber prop needles to break the link from Angie's gamer. Brother drops by to push the movie plot along as he tells Cable that Ken Castle's Nanex machines were originally used to test soldiers on the battlefield. But when that didn't work out too well for him, he created the Society video game instead. And apparently Castle also framed Cable into killing his friend when he originally used his Nanex to forcibly murder. After discovering this revelation, Brother's groupie also informs Cable that his daughter is held up at Ken Castle's lair, so he decides to immediately head out. Well, it's nice to see that the movie pretty much laid everything all out for the protagonist, when you only have his less than 23 minutes of the film left. Instead of, I don't know, have it slowly develop and progress throughout the movie in little bits and pieces.
If you did that, then how are you going to include all those extreme action scenes that chew up all that time? As Simon is being released from holding and goes back to his playroom where trolls call him a cheater, Cable just conveniently strolls on into Castle's place where he confronts the corrupt billionaire. Castle puts on a bit of an odd song and dance show for Cable and points to the monitor where his hired goons kill off Brother and the other humans with flash photography and unleashes his mind-controlled goons onto our protagonist.
After taking them all down, Castle leads Cable to his basketball court, who monologues about how he is different from everyone else and that his mind transmits orders to others who are embedded with the Nanex.
I think it, and you do it.
He drones on with his typical bad guy spiel, saying that his new Nanex are about as small as air particles, and if he is able to get hundreds of millions of people to breathe it in, he will have absolute control over everyone's minds.
Castle demonstrates this on Cable as he sicks Hackman on him again, but Cable manages to take him out for the last time. However, Cable can't seem to do the same thing to Castle as he is under the villain's control. Once more, as Castle roughs up Cable a little bit, Gina somehow manages to hack into Castle's place with a single push of a button where a live feed pops up and everyone around the world sees Castle for who he truly is.
Not that it wasn't much of a stretch, seeing as how a lot of his paid subscribers on his video games are pretty much as messed up as he is. Castle brings out Cable's family, where he sticks a knife to his emotionless-looking daughter, but overcomes it as he quickly redirects the weapon at Castle.
Look at this knife. Imagine me sticking it into your gut. Think about it.
Or Castle could think about not doing it because that might be another option.
And so Cable kills Ken Castle, tells the remaining hired goons to release everyone from Slayer and Society, and the movie ends with Cable's family driving along the countryside, thus concluding another failed movie project from the Crank Boys.
What the hell, man? Like, why would you let me watch this movie and not give me enough hard drugs? Because that's probably the only way I could really get through this.
Well, truth be told, I have been popping a few shots here and there during your narration scenes. Some good vodka. Now, as I get a refill on this, why don't you go first and tell us what you thought about this movie?
So this movie was a bit of an interesting experiment while trying to cover the concept of video games in a movie rather than basing this movie off a video game property, and it kind of fails in every respect because this movie is a bit all over the place. And like, are gamers even the demographic of this movie? Are they just trying anymore?
Well said, my man. Now, like I said before in the beginning of this review, this movie was, of course, a box office bomb for a multitude of reasons. The film had a $50 million budget, and it only grossed about $42 million in total. One critic went on to say that this movie is nothing more than a Xerox of a Xerox. The post-production effects are nauseatingly bad, the settings are contrived and lazy, and a majority of the filler is filled up with mediocre action scenes. Not to mention that the side characters had very little going for them, mostly because they were just hired actors for the day, or a majority of them were just immediately killed off in the first 5 minutes. Gamer is one of those types of movies that you pretty much see at the bargain bin at the Goodwill store for only $1. You pretty much pick it up, you take a look at it, and you go, maybe. But then you see a much better mediocre movie, toss it to the side, and pretty much go for that other bargain bin movie instead for a couple of pennies more. And that's pretty much what The Gamer is. And because of this is without a doubt one of the second worst mainstream movies I've reviewed on the show, and which is why I would have to give it a meager half point out of 5. And the only reason I'm giving this a half point is mostly because I was quite surprised the fact that they were able to muster up enough energy and profit money to put this out in theaters over a weekend.
Are we done here? Because unlike you, I need to go out and mingle with the members of society.
Oh yeah. There you go. Thanks again for coming on to the show, Ryan. And if you guys would like to check out his content, feel free to check him out over at Battle Geek Plus. I'll leave a link right in the description box below, or pretty much his pick at the end of the video. And if you guys like what you see, of course, feel free to like, subscribe, and all the other fun junk. Either on his channel or mine. Anything is better than nothing, especially with the YouTube algorithm that it is nowadays. And with that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time on the BoobTube.